The Celery Bog Nature Area is a wetland formed by glaciers moving across Indiana over 15,000 years ago. This period was known as the Great Ice Age due to the large amount of glacial ice that covered the planet over a long period of time. Glaciers are massive ice sheets that can be hundreds of feet thick. These heavy, slow-moving giants bulldozed across the land carrying with them till, or rocks, sand, and clay. Large rocks deposited by glaciers are called ERRATICS. These boulders stand out from their surroundings and can travel many hundreds of miles with an advancing ice sheet. Together the glacier's weight and mass plowed and scraped across the land, leaving moraines, or accumulations of till in the form of mounds and ridges. 20,000 years ago, when the glaciers began to melt and recede, a part of the ice remained buried underground at the Celery Bog, and because it was buried underground, it took many hundreds of years to melt. And when the block of ice began to melt, the ground above it sank. Big potholes were left behind filled with pools of water and soggy ground. Fossils found here indicate that these pools of water were home to algae and coniferous trees. At this point, the area was considered a swamp forest. When the ice block melted completely, the water from the ice block changed the area from a swamp forest into a lake. Fossils discovered at the Celery Bog indicate that the lake was home to many different types of aquatic plants, freshwater shrimp, insects, snails, and fish. As aquatic plants and animals died and other decaying organisms fell into the lake, it began to fill in with organic matter. About 9,500 years ago, the water became shallow and the fish died out. Fossils found at the Celery Bog revealed that emergent plants began to take over, changing the water flow and water levels. The lake became a marsh. About 6,500 years ago, a mat of floating plants, such as sphagnum moss, gradually covered the marsh. Sphagnum moss altered the chemistry of the water and made it acidic, like lemon juice. These changes helped the marsh become a bog. Today, what we call the Celery Bog is actually a marsh. But it has gone through many changes in the last 100 years. In the 1920s, the Celery Bog was drained by Dutch immigrant farmers who grew vegetables, and yes, celery too. The Dutch built dams and a system of drainage tiles to keep their fields dry. But in the end, it proved to be too difficult to manage, and the water came back to the Celery Bog. The Celery Bog is a complex wetland and ecosystem. It took thousands of years to create, but in the last 100 years, it has undergone radical changes in a relatively short period of time. Both offering research opportunities and recreation, the Celery Bog Nature Area provides a glimpse into Indiana's wetland past.